Now, here's another question for you. Do you make pancakes from scratch, or is a mix more your speed? Well, Chef Randy is going to show us why homemade just can't be beat in today's Daily Dish. Here's what you'll need: some flour, baking powder, baking soda, kosher salt, eggs, maple syrup, buttermilk, and butter. Sounds pretty easy. So, Randy, I will surprise no one when I tell you that, of course, I make my pancakes from a box, and Leo makes his from scratch. But pancakes are, listen, I think that they're fantastic for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. I love pancakes. So please tell me how to make pancake perfection.
Tracy, I am not going to judge you. If you want to make them from a box, like, fill your boots. That is fine, as long as you're making them, because it's that food that we all come around the kitchen and everyone kind of helps out, and then we just kind of eat them as they're ready. You know what I mean? At least they were in my household. And for some reason, the guys always decide to cook them. The fathers get in there, they're like, I'm the pancake man. So I bet you Leo does make it from scratch. And here's the thing. You should learn how to make them from scratch anyways, because if you run out of the box stuff and the kids want them, the last thing you want to do on a Sunday morning is run out to the store. Totally. Right?
Yeah, I'm right with you.
So it's really simple, and this recipe is actually kind of foolproof because it has both baking soda and baking powder in it. But the first thing first, whenever you're baking, whenever you're doing anything, I know people don't do this, and you need to do this, you need to sieve your flour to get all the lumps out. So then a teaspoon of baking soda and baking powder goes in, and everyone's like, it's too hard, but check this out. It's not that hard at all. You just kind of bang it through, and in like 6, 5, 4, 3, and there you go. Now you know that you've got fluffy pancakes coming. And at the very end, just pass it through with a spoon. You're good to go. So the reason why I like this recipe, again, is it has both baking powder and baking soda. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start adding our wet into our dry. So we've got some melted butter, because you want that kind of like browning on the outside. You need to put some fat into the dough. We got egg yolks, and the maple syrup doesn't belong just on top. It's going inside as well. A little bit of kosher salt. And then, of course, I've got buttermilk. And the reason for the buttermilk, Tracy, number one, it gives it a bit of a zing, right? But you need that acidity because I use the baking powder. And whenever I'm really sensitive to baking powder, and it gives me that kind of aluminum flavor in my mouth, you know, like you're chewing on a Mountain Dew can. And I don't like that. So the acidity of the buttermilk really like takes that away and balances it out. And that's also going to give it so then you're left with fluffiness, but it doesn't taste acidic. It's just going to taste like melted butter in there. So this took all of 27 seconds to come together, right? And you just want to save a little bit of buttermilk at the end, and you just kind of like play with it, because it might not take the entire thing depending on how fluffy your flour was. But right now, with 3 more whisks,
nice,
we're looking pretty darn good. Now what I've done for an extra step is I've separated my egg whites from my egg yolks, and I've just blended up my egg whites to be nice and fluffy. And so the last step, Leo's going to appreciate this one. This is if you really want to go that extra mile. What we're going to do is we're just going to put those egg whites in there, and then we're going to fold them in just nice and softly like this. And that leaves us with this airiness that just can't be matched. So that goes in. Now we're going to start talking about our pan. You want to get, the griddle was always at home for us. We like the griddle, but sometimes I prefer 2 or 3 pans because I like to make it look like I'm doing more than I am. Line them all up, and then you can kind of keep going, right? Get a big stick of butter, and then into that pan like that, you need butter. And I've got a batter that's rested here because you want to let it rest for 10 minutes. But one of the things I love to do with my pancakes is I like to have cold butter straight out of the fridge. Get yourself a knife, and then we're just going to cut this down like this, and then we're going to just brunoise this butter up. And it sounds a little silly, but everyone has these like giant sticks of butter.
Yeah.
And I find that the butter stays in one spot, where I want like a confetti of butter on my pancakes. So now, if you take a look back into our pan, the first sign you see is the edges start kind of getting a little bit crispy. And the second sign, you know what the second sign is because you're making this at home. When do you know they're ready to flip, Trace?
Bubbles. Look for the bubbles.
Oh my stars.
Is it perfection?
You know what? It's like fluffy. They have that crispy edge on them that we all like because that's totally the texture thing right there. Today I'm playing the 100% purist.
Yeah.
And I'm going strictly butter and maple syrup. And if you take a look at these pancakes now, look at this. You can see that they just like puffed up on both sides, like just spankingly.
Oh, beautiful.
And then what we're gonna do is like this, and just the brunoise of butter is gonna start falling everywhere. Because it really is about that Instagram shot of the tiny pieces of butter melting on the heat of the pancakes. And then, you know, this is all you really need when you put that extra work into the pancakes.
Get that money shot. It's all about the Feltus Farms. Love it. So good.
And there it is. You make that, you'll never be going to the store again for pancake batter.
Never, ever, ever. That is a beautiful lunch, dinner, breakfast, whatever you want it to be. It is great. Randy, thank you for that. If you want to make your own perfect pancakes, head to our website for Randy's recipe. That's cityline.tv.